welcome to the Square's one and only radio station. I'm your host. Today is Wednesday, June 29th, 2022, and we are in Vail, Colorado with a high of 83 and a low of 49. There will be no rain today, and fun fact, today will be the shortest recorded day in Earth's history since scientists began measuring the Earth's rotation with the atomic clock. It will be shorter than 24 hours by a whopping 1.59 milliseconds. Isn't that fun? Again, welcome to our first ever broadcast. And thank you to everyone who has submitted their requests already. I can't wait to see more of your requests. Before I get ahead of myself, let's get to the show. We begin our very first story in a marsh where the air smells of rotting eggs and salt water. The ground is either deep pits of mud or soggy peat. The air is alive with the buzzing of insects, and the water's full of fish. In this marsh lives a monster called Grendel. Now, most monsters don't just come out of nowhere, and the same can be said for him. When Cain committed the first murder, several monsters were born of that atrocity. Those monsters went on to have their own children, who then had their own children, and so on. Grendel was but one of those offspring. One night, Grendel awoke from his slumber to hear an unfamiliar sound. He followed the sound out of the marsh and up to a magnificent mead hall, glowing with lights in the dark night. The sound of people shouting, drinking, and singing songs echoed out across the countryside. This was Harrod Hall, built by King Hrothgar, King of the Danes, and this hall was known to host some of the best banquets. Grendel cared not for the architecture or the history or even the food and drink provided, but drool pulled in his mouth as he came up with a plan to get what he really wanted. After the party-goers settled down to sleep, he approached the Harrod. Grendel was a solitary hunter, so despite his hulking form, his footsteps were silent. Not a soul stirred when the beasts entered the hall, as they had much to drink that night. All still slept when Grendel snatched a man from his resting place, biting his head off, before the man could even open his eyes. Grendel was not full yet, though, and there was plenty of food, just snoring away. So he ate, and he ate, and he ate, till he could eat no more. Then he headed back to his lair in the marsh. When morning came, the king awoke, counting 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20? No, 30 of his men missing, and judging by the blood pooling on the floor and the chunks of muscle and entrails, they weren't coming back. There is always the hope that a tragedy never repeats itself, but Grendel kept coming back for more, night after night. Obviously, few came to the hall anymore, fearing the beast that haunted it. Grendel killed the young and old indiscriminately. He refused to listen to any attempts at negotiations, and none who fought against him could even wound him. Those that tried to find his lair in the marsh failed. After 12 years of slaughter, the news reached Geatland and the ears of our story's hero, Beowulf, who loaded up his ship along with 14 of Geatland's best warriors, planning to solve this problem for the freedom of the Danes and the glory of the battle. When the watchmen who guarded the sea cliffs saw a group of heavily armored men sailing toward the shore, he was understandably quite nervous. "Who are you to come upon our shore armed? Never in all my years of guarding the shores have even raiders been so brazen in their arrival. You can't just land here without getting permission." Then the watchman laid his eyes on Beowulf. He was a strong and handsome man with a muscular build, strong jawline, and intense, piercing eyes. "But I am willing to give you a chance to explain yourself." Pretty privilege. We are Geats. I am Beowulf, son of Ecgtheow, the famous warrior. Beowulf was correct, as many men still remembered Ecgtheow's brave deeds on the battle lines. Feel free to ask us any questions, and we will answer honestly. I must ask, though, are the rumors of a great beast slaughtering the Danes true? If so, we have come to slay this beast for King Hrothgar. Well, many men before you have claimed that they would slay the creature, but all have failed. The watchman looked over the armored men once more, his eyes lingering on the gleaming mail shirt Beowulf wore. That would have cost a pretty penny back then. Honestly, your group has as good a chance as any other, so I will take you to King Hrothgar. Back at the great hall, the king sat staring into space. His grief had only grown those 12 long years, and his hopes had been crushed again and again. He could only sit there and wait for a miracle to save his land. The king's herald, Wulfgar, entered the room. My lord, a group of Geats, under the command of a man named Beowulf, have requested an audience with you. And if I could be so bold, I believe that it is best for this land that we grant it. Wulfgar was also a renowned warrior, known for his wisdom, so the king trusted his judgment. I met Beowulf when he was but a small boy. His father was a great warrior, and I have heard from those who visited Geatland tales of Beowulf's accomplishments. As the king recounts what he had heard, he felt his chest tightening with the anxiety that came with finding hope once more after so much tragedy. I've even heard he has the strength of 30 men in each hand. If these tales are true, I believe we might have hope in defending ourselves from that demon. Go, bring him in immediately. Wulfgar, quick to listen to his king, leaves and re-enters the room, followed by 15 men wearing fine chainmail and sturdy helmets, ready for a battle. One step forward. My lord, I, Beowulf, may be young in age, but I have the strength to beat Grendel in hand-to-hand combat. Beowulf states with steely determination. But if I am killed in battle, I request that you send my mail shirt, forged by Wayland, to Lord Haylock. Now, brave warrior, time and time again, seasoned fighters have drunk at my banquet table and vowed to protect Herat and slay Grendel. Come morning, they were found slaughtered. The king stared into the distance before returning his gaze to Beowulf with a sad smile. For now, join us for our banquet, and afterwards you can decide if you will still fight the demon. The banquet had all you needed for a great party, but the air was tense with nervous energy. People ate and drank and chatted and sang, but all eyes were on Beowulf, all with the same question. Can he really slay Grendel? One set of these eyes belonged to Unferth, son of Ecglauf. He was brimming with envy at Beowulf's bravery, as he seemed undaunted by the idea of facing the beast. Are you the Beowulf who challenged Brecca to a swimming match on the open sea? Unferth's voice sounded through the hall, and many men stopped their chatter to listen to his words in hope of hearing a good story. Risking your lives for a boast. I heard that many tried to convince you two not to do such a reckless challenge. In the end, you two swam for 7 days just for you to lose, proving Brecca the stronger man. So you can drop the false bravado and just sail back home. No one has ever survived a night against Grendel, and you would just end up another stain on this floor. The partygoers look to Beowulf, and to everyone's surprise, he just laughs. My good friend Unferth, just how much beer have you had to tell the story so poorly? Here's the real story. Brecca and I were childhood friends, and we grew up daring each other to do ridiculous and dangerous challenges out at sea. So we were out on the open sea, swords clutched to our chests, to protect us from sea monsters. Rekka couldn't pull ahead, but I had no desire to leave him behind in such dangerous waters. For 5 nights we swam shoulder to shoulder till a storm appeared, increasing the intensity of the waves till they roiled like boiling water, driving us apart. The storm was also strong enough to drag the sea monsters to the surface and whip them into a frenzy. I learned about this frenzy when I was suddenly dragged into the depths by one of the monsters. Luckily, my armor kept me from being injured, but I knew my luck was quickly running out. I only had one chance to kill this beast before I was fish food. I thrust my sword into the beast and, just barely, managed to land a fatal blow. Returning to the surface, I hoped that was the last of them, but the monsters did not stop their attacks. Though in the morning, they were the mangled corpses floating on the sea, not me. Finally, the storm cleared and the sea calmed, and I could see the cliffs of the shore ahead of me. I had killed 9 sea monsters that night and was exhausted, but I managed to make it to the coast of Finland. Beowulf looked to Unferth. Now, Unferth, I can't recall any tales of your triumphs in war. You've never been celebrated for your swordsmanship or deeds in battle. All you have is some cleverness and a quick wit. If you were even half the warrior you claim to be, Grendel would not have even dared to attack this hall. Grendel knows he has no need to fear your blade. Instead, he plunders and kills with no worry about you or your comrades' spears. So he will be surprised to find that I am to be feared. I will show him my homeland's strength and courage, and when morning comes, all can come to the Heorot in high spirits, with the knowledge that Grendel will be dead. Beowulf turned to the king. I made up my mind when I set out to sea. I will kill the demon that's been terrorizing this land, or die trying. The crowd cheered and returned to the party with renewed vigor, the men believing that there was hope that this warrior would be the one to slay the demon. Eventually, the banquet came to a close. King Hrothgar approached Beowulf. Good luck, brave warrior. The king gripped Beowulf's shoulder. No, ever since I could use a shield, I have never given command of the Danes' Hall to anyone. Tonight, I give it to you. Remember the skills you learned on the battlefield, and don't underestimate your enemy. If you come out of this alive, glory and riches will be yours. Do not fret, my lord. Beowulf patted the king's back with a smile. Come morning, you will be free of that beast. With that, the king and his warriors left. For the first time in 12 long years, he was sure that he had no need to worry about Grendel. As the group began preparing for the night ahead of them, Beowulf began to take off his armor. His men were stunned at this recklessness and questioned his actions. Yeah, I would have been baffled too. I bet that I am equal in combat to that demon, so I have no need for a sword. Beowulf handed off his sword to an attendant. Take care of that, will you? No, Grendel doesn't know how to wield a sword or use a shield. He only has his strength. So if he wants to fight me, I will fight him unarmed. May the better fighter win. As they all laid down to sleep, they couldn't help but worry for their lives. Many warriors fought against Grendel and lost, and now Beowulf was saying he can do the impossible while unarmed. In the marsh, Grendel lazily walked through the mist on his way to his favorite buffet hall. When he entered the great hall, he found the men sleeping, his quiet laugh drifting through the air like the smell of rotting fish, as he imagined ripping them limb from limb. Grendel snatched one of the men from his bed and tore his head off. In a flash, the head was crushed between Grendel's teeth. Grendel continued tearing pieces off the body like it was a piece of bread, swallowing the flesh and blood. Just as soon as the meal began, it was done, leaving behind an empty bed and a spatter of blood. Then Grendel reached for his next victim, our hero. Beowulf suddenly grabbed his hand, stopping Grendel in his tracks. Beowulf had only been pretending to sleep as he watched one of his men be slaughtered. He had hoped that taking off his armor would make it more tempting for Grendel to attack him first. Unfortunately for his comrade, luck wasn't on his side. But now Grendel was in his grasp, and he had no plans to let go. Grendel had never felt a grip so strong before, and like a trapped animal, his fear made him think of one thing: run. Grendel tried to yank his hand free, giving Beowulf the chance to get out of bed and secure his grip. Grendel's attempts became more frantic as he felt the bones in his fingers straining, and then crack! An animalistic howl of pain erupted through the hall, waking the Geats with a shock. Grendel, trying desperately to free his arm from this man's grip, stumbled back, but Beowulf yanked him forward in response. The two continued this tug of war over the arm, knocking benches off their bolts and smashing the furniture into pieces. It was a testament to the builder's handiwork that the hall itself was not damaged in the tussle. Beowulf's men scrambled to their feet and drew their swords. They struck Grendel from all sides, trying to protect their commander and slay the demon. Unfortunately, they did not know that Grendel had cast a spell that prevented all blades from cutting him. This trick had led to the deaths of many warriors. But Beowulf was not using a blade. In the flurry of swords, Beowulf was able to get the leverage he needed and began to pull. Grendel screamed as he felt the shoulder pull from its socket, and as the flesh strained and then ripped. Suddenly, Grendel was free from Beowulf's grip and ran off with blood pouring from the ragged stump where his arm used to be. Beowulf held up Grendel's arm in triumph as he and his men shouted in victory. The story of Beowulf doesn't end there, but for us, this is where it ends today. Thank you to the toy shop owner for this request. I'm sorry we couldn't do all of it today, but do not fret, for we shall return to see more of Beowulf's adventures. Once again, thanks to all who have submitted their requests already, and if you haven't gotten yours in yet, please do that as soon as you can. You'll hear from me again yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the rest of your lives. Goodbye!